Yes, that is actually how the event started. Link to the full video down below. But first, let's rewind. It's travel day, off to Google I/O. And since this video is sponsored by MoveBot, I splurged a bit and bought a ticket on the semi-private flight service, JSX, to test out their Starlink Wi-Fi. Make sure you're subscribed to see how that video goes, and now hit the travel montage. Good morning from Google I/O 2024. In just a few short minutes, there's all my fellow champion innovators, GDEs, etc. Early for the celebration here, taking selfie after selfie. Here we go. In a few short minutes, we're going to begin with the keynote. I'm not entirely certain who's going to come out on stage, but probably a bunch of the usual suspects. Looking forward to a lot of updates and announcements. As always, of course, AI is going to take center stage here. And thank you to Google for giving us the ability to sit basically front row in this whole section. There's going to be a lot of people here, not quite as many as there were at Google Next, but this is Shoreline Amphitheater. It's a smaller venue, and it's going to be a lot more fun.
For those of you who haven't seen I/O before, it's basically Google's version of the Era store. Fewer costume changes.
Make sure you check out MoveBot I/O, who has sponsored this video and made it possible for me to come out here and bring all of these amazing updates to you. If it weren't for them, I'd be stuck at home watching the live stream like everybody else. MoveBot is an incredible platform for moving data from any open cloud to any other open cloud, as well as email inboxes into Google Workspace, which is my personal favorite as a major fan of Workspace, as you all regularly know. Google announced, 35 million different products and updates at Google I/O. Unfortunately, all of them are named Gemini, so we have no way to tell which one is which, but we're going to try. Now, this is generally a developer-focused event with a hard emphasis on physical products, some consumer products, Android, Gemini, etc. This year, they actually spent time talking about Google Workspace for Enterprise in the main keynote. Sundar Pichai himself talked about a couple of interesting features that we're going to get into shortly, and Aparna Pappu, who's the VP and General Manager of Google Workspace, came out on stage and gave a presentation on some additional features as well. Now, of course, they didn't go as in-depth as they did at Google Next, but they did highlight some of the features that were announced at Google Next, as well as some brand new announcements. For everything announced at Google Next, be sure to check out my video, all of the Workspace updates from Google Next, which I'll link above or down below or wherever, somewhere around here on the video. But here's what they announced at Google I/O. First off, the big news for me, and something that people have been asking me about for months, is how do you get access to the side panel? You have side panel access. I want side panel access. I was able to get it through Google Workspace Labs, which if you haven't signed up for it, they have it closed at the moment, but sometimes they open it back up. So keep an eye on the Google Workspace Labs website for your opportunity to sign up there. But I'm happy to announce that side panel is rolling out now to Alpha and Workspace Labs users if you didn't already have it. In addition to that, it is generally available next month. If you're having trouble activating it in Alpha, I'll leave a link down below to the support article on some of the things you may have missed in order to get it working on your domain. As part of that announcement, we finally get Gemini 1.5 Pro in the sidebar. Now, up until now, I've tested it, I've talked about it, but it was kind of useless because, honestly, before Gemini 1.5, Gemini wasn't that wonderful. Sorry, Google. But now that it's in the sidebar, it feels as useful as the chatbot has been for anybody who's been using the Google Gemini for Business or Gemini Enterprise interface. Another massive announcement that they've been hinting to for several months now, including at Google Next, is AI Workflows. Workflows is going to supercharge some of the things that you can do with Google Workspace. For example, in the sidebar, you're going to be able to ask it questions as part of the sidebar experience about your emails. So for example, expense reports are going to become a thing of the past because you're going to be able to tell Gemini to look at your inbox and to filter for any receipts that come in. Next, you're going to tell it to take all of those files and drop them into a Google Drive folder. Now, once they're in the Google Drive folder, take the information found in those receipts and put them into a spreadsheet. And then once that spreadsheet is set up, it will continue to be populated as this continues to run for you automatically. And of course, you can ask Gemini in the sidebar in Google Sheets to give you an analysis and answer questions about your spending from the data that has been pulled automatically from your email. Thank God. This is going to save so many hours on this feature alone. Next up, we have Gemini in Google Meet. Now, I got a private demo of this at Google Next, and they're just starting to talk about it now and announce it on the Google blog, but they're going to be able to do a couple of insanely cool features here. The first one, of course, being the ability to listen to your meeting and then summarize and answer questions about the meeting as it goes on. So let's say you show up to a meeting late and you weren't sure what was happening because people were talking back and forth and you missed the entire context. You're going to be able to ask Gemini to summarize it for you and bring you up to speed. Moving over to the chat side of things, they announced something that honestly I think is going to be quite useful. I just have to wait and see how it's going to be implemented, is a Gemini-based virtual assistant. Now, I don't mean the Google Home virtual assistant or the one that's on your phone, although I really hope that they supercharge those with Gemini soon, because quite frankly, right now they suck. No, this virtual assistant is a chatbot that you will create in Google Chat that's integrated into your business and you're able to ask questions about it. So for example, if you have a couple of different chat rooms, and this is the example that they gave at the event, if you have a bunch of different chat rooms about an event that you're planning, you can add this chatbot to all of the different rooms, and then when you're in those rooms, ask a question, not even to the chatbot. You don't have to tag the chatbot or anything. If you ask a question such as, was the copy for this video approved, the chatbot will go and check all of those different rooms that it's in pertaining to this particular conversation and come back and say, yes, in this chat room, this person approved it, which is amazing. It's like a project manager, but done completely by Gemini. Now, the question that I have about this is, well, maybe I don't want it having access to everything in the company, or I don't want certain teams having access to other teams' stuff, such as marketing really shouldn't have access to conversations that are happening in IT. So how are you going to segment that? I imagine it's because you're only going to invite your chatbot into the rooms that you want your chatbot learning from, and everybody will have to create their own chatbot. But that remains to be seen. Of course, I guess it's better than Microsoft's coming along and saying, hey, we've got new computers and we're going to take a screenshot every single second and record everything your computer does. It will be fine. Trust us. If you haven't seen what I'm talking about, go and check the latest news that came out of Microsoft's conference. Speaking of Gemini, another thing that Google highlighted was Gemini Advanced, which is available today globally with a 1 million context token window. Say that 5 times fast. 1 million context token window, which as I understand is the largest context window in the world, for now. And asterisk publicly available to consumers or businesses, largest context window in the world, because technically Claude from Anthropic, which Google's an investor in, and also OpenAI and others have bigger models, and Google has bigger models, and I don't know, it gets very confusing. Just take them at their word for this one. It is what is called multimodal, which means that you're able to upload not only just text, but also images, audio, and even videos. And with the 1 million context window, it means that you're going to be able to upload a tremendous amount of documents, or several extremely large documents, as well as up to an hour of video, as well as audio files, and you're going to be able to extract information from them. As an example of this, they counted how many times they said AI on stage at I.O., which obviously shout out to, I think it was Becca over at The Verge for counting all of those last year. They had Gemini look at the script for I.O. and pull out all the times that they said AI throughout the entire keynote. The answer was 121. Now, while that's very impressive, the 1 million token window, obviously, as I mentioned before, isn't standing still, which is why Google also announced that later this year, they're increasing that number to 2 million, which actually I think is unheard of, so well done, Google. Also in the coming weeks, Help Me Write in Gmail and Docs is going to be able to support Spanish and Portuguese languages. Few more things to go here. We're almost done. Gemini for Workspace in Gmail on mobile is coming. You're going to be able to ask questions and answers, summarize emails, and contextual suggested replies based on the content in your email, similar to what you can do on desktop. The ability to summarize will be rolling out this month, and contextual smart reply will be rolling out in July. Now for you Workspace for Education folks, pay attention. Gemini for Education is finally launching. It's going to have 2 tiers, similar to how you have Gemini for Business and Gemini Enterprise, and it's targeted, and this is important, for educators, not the students. The terms and conditions actually state that nobody under the age of 18 is going to be able to use this. So unless you're an admin for a college and getting Gemini for your students, they're not going to be able to use it. The 2 tiers for Gemini, instead of being called Business and Enterprise, will instead be called Gemini for Education and Gemini for Education Premium. Lastly, on the updates front is something that is not Workspace core, but is Workspace adjacent, is an amazing new feature that's coming to Google Photos. The feature is called Ask Photos, and it's going to take something that many of us are doing by default just by saving photos in Photos a lot easier to recall. Gemini is going to be able to look up information in your photos, such as your license plate number, for example, or credit card information, or things that you generally have stored in your photos because you take pictures of them on your phone and it's automatically uploaded, and you forget that it's even there in the first place. Now, personally, I have been using Google Photos as a memory store for this and have an album for some of my important documents that I need to have. Now, of course, you should be careful with credit card information and personally identifiable information. However, if you have things like your VIN number or your license plate or certain documents in there that you wanted to be able to query later on, you are going to be able to do. Whew, that's all the major updates from Google I/O. Google's having a killer year, continuing to roll everything out. Please like and subscribe if this has been helpful and you want to see more videos like this. Once again, thank you to my sponsor, MoveBot, for making these videos possible. Go and check them out, movebot.io, and we'll see you next time.